Calendar turns to April, thoughts turn to spring across the northern plains, upper Midwest. We have had a bit of a cooling pattern, which is not unusual after some early warmth getting up into the plains. We'll talk about how far north warm temperatures are likely to get over the next couple of weeks. Snow, of course, has fallen recently in the far northern parts of the area, and there may be a little more, although I don't expect nearly so much this time. And as far as the main areas of rain or really any type of significant precipitation, that's going to go mostly east and then later along the west coast in the second part of the forecast period. Jet stream has gone to more of a meandering west to east pattern. We've lost a lot of that really high amplitude that we had. Colder weather, of course, north of the jet, warmer weather to the south. Texas is starting to heat up at times. Florida, really only the south part of the peninsula, although it looks like we will have some near 90-degree weather getting up into the northern part for at least a couple of days this week. Northern plains, Great Lakes is where it's cool. That's because we're going to start to see some troughiness getting carved out in the jet stream level over the eastern U.S. But out west, the warmth will be rising, and you're going to see some really warm air getting up into central and northern California, and some pretty mild weather getting up into the Pacific Northwest. Toward the end of the week, though, that will change as we start seeing troughing coming down from the west, and this big low-pressure air in the east begins to lose some of its punch, and so we're back to west to east flow with mostly the cold weather limited across the north. The second week of the pattern, not a whole lot of change. We're going to start to see this low-pressure trough coming out, which will bring some colder weather into the Pacific Northwest, also very likely some rain and some interior snows. And this little brief period may bring a day or two of some very warm temperatures up into the central plains. I look for that to be a temporary aberration, but as you'll see in a moment, that may have some long-range significance, and it may be a pattern that repeats itself. This first week of the period, I look for some wet weather over the eastern part of the United States, maybe a little bit of light snow or rain in the north around the midweek. I don't expect a lot out of that. Pacific Northwest looks like it will get fairly wet, and the Southwest does definitely look on the dry side. In the second week, that dryness, remember the hot weather coming up into the central plains? Well, that's also going to be dry weather into the central plains. The rainy weather over the eastern United States, at least that is above average, will get shrunk quite a bit. In other words, I don't think there'll be that much rain in the middle part of April in the Corn Belt. The Pacific Northwest will finally start getting some rains down into California. Now, this warm and dry weather in the central plains is significant. The U.S. Drought Monitor at this point, which is an overall look at dry conditions, is showing that this Great Plains right now is an area of concern. It's not as dry as it was last spring, but from Montana down through the central and southern plains, things are going into growing season just a little dry.